All right, welcome back. There's a few things that one, our videos have been tanking. Don't know why. It's because I think my conspiracy is a random YouTube channel copyright claimed Travis Scott's Vision song on the beginning. So we have a copyright warning on every video that we put up. It says it shouldn't affect it, but I swear since
It's
it's
affecting it.
happened, since that's happened, it feels like all of our videos are getting affected by it.
Yeah, they're nerfing us.
I think so. Either that or I haven't been locked in. I don't know what it is. So
We got to talk to Travis about this one.
that's the first thing. So honestly, I'm thinking about making a new intro. I just need to get around to doing it. Second thing, you know how Ryan Hurt every once in a while, once in a blue moon, gets a kick of he wants to do have a podcast, and he asks me to record with him
Every 8 months, yeah.
like every few months. Like, so recently I was like, okay, he texted me, he was like, do you want to record? This was last Wednesday. I was like, me and Noah record on Wednesdays. Like, we've actually been doing it weekly for
Yeah.
it's gonna be coming up on 2 years. So
Yeah.
like we're actually like doing it weekly, like, and I was like, what do you have going on throughout the week that you like can't do anything? And he like lists out like all this bullshit, like, well, Morgan me cook dinner. And I'm like, it just sounds like you're not dedicated enough to have a podcast or a YouTube channel.
If he wanted to do it, he would have started it. Whenever the first time he asked you about it.
Well, he always brings up something that he likes to bring up to me is he does like the Herf and Dan show, which
Are they
they
still doing
haven't.
that?
No, I mean they haven't done it in forever. But when he did do it, he like if me and him talk, he's always like, dude, if me and him just kept doing it, like we would have had all these episodes and like blah blah blah. Like it's like yeah, but like you haven't.
Yeah.
So
Just,
so it's
just
that.
I don't understand why they wouldn't just keep doing it.
And the last thing here, and this is really what drove me up a wall. Like he do you see this right here? He
They're
used
just all with you.
he used AI to generate these these uh these
To
thumbnails,
thumbnails.
and they look ridiculous. I was like, why don't you use pictures of us?
Oh, that's actually hilarious.
Why would you not use pictures of us?
From the video.
It literally like it looks like two actors playing us in a movie.
Bro, it looks like Rob Gronkowski fell off and is that thumbnail picture.
I was ast- astonished. I was like, dude, what are you doing? He sent those to me and was like, these turned out great. I was like, no, they didn't. They look terrible, actually. They look like us people who got casted as us for a
in
movie.
like in like a super low budget Indian film. Like you guys are playing two white guys.
That's what I mean. I'm like, you have pictures of me and you. We
That's
recorded the podcast. I was like, what are you doing? So I was like,
that's so funny.
so that obviously has been a situation with Ryan Hurt. I'm sure that doesn't shock you because that guy's an absolute wild card, but
Yeah, absolutely.
just had to get that off my chest before we
It's so
started
funny.
today because that shit is literally ridiculous. When I saw that, I was like, is that some like I literally was like, is that somebody acting like me in this picture? He was like, that's AI. I was like, I'm
Well, I
so
mean,
confused.
AI is great. There's certain things that you don't need it for.
We just
Like when you have the original version of
it's
something,
not
like the
even
version that
it's
you
not
want.
even the correct size for a thumbnail. It's
No,
literally
that's
not the
so
right size
funny.
for a thumbnail. So I'm done. Give me 1 second here. I need to get a water. Might cut that out. I might leave it in. I don't know yet. How long was that?
A couple minutes, 5 minutes.
No, me going on getting a water.
Oh, probably 30 seconds.
Fuck. So we just have a list of things that we're going to go over today. Always a reminder to like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, give it a 5-star rating or a 1-star rating, depending if you like it or not. The first video or first conversation that we're going to be diving into today is probably one that hits home for Noah. Probably one where he wishes that he could do for that bullshit company, State Media. But we're stealing it and we're doing it on this platform because I think I led the charge on this. I was
You did.
I was on this honestly for this draft because I really deep down believe that he should have came out in this year's draft. And I think it would have been beneficial for him. And that is Penn State's quarterback, Drew Allar, will be the first quarterback taken, the first pick in the 2026 draft. So throughout the entire summer, we're going to do a segment, kind of like a way too early predictions. This is our first way too early prediction, and this is just falls on me. And if you agree with me or you disagree with me, that Drew Allar, Penn State's quarterback, will be the first pick of the 2026 draft.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Just if I'll let you follow up, but I agree with you. I think he has all the tools, but carry on.
Yeah. So Drew is entering his final season at Penn State. Like I said, I made the argument that last year he should have come out this past year just because of how weak the quarterback class was. And then when we watched it fully play out, Shador falls to the 5th. Tyler Shuck it goes at the top of the 2nd round. Cam Ward goes 1 overall. If he doesn't get drafted at 1, like let's just say Cam Ward was viewed as a better prospect as him during this draft, you can't look at me in the eyes and say that he wouldn't have been a top 10 lock because you look back, the Saints needed a quarterback because Derek Carr ultimately ended up retiring and they took Shuck at the top of the 2nd. And then that list of top 10 teams that all needed QBs like the Giants, etc., the Browns, who took 2 quarterbacks in this last draft, ultimately went a different direction. But if somebody with the caliber and talent like Drew Allar, if he was involved in this last year's class, if he wasn't the first quarterback taken, I think he was I personally think a top 5 lock and at the very least a top 10 lock.
There's also a part of me that thinks that there would have been some other teams that would have been more aggressive trying to find a quarterback in this draft. Like there's a couple teams that when we were going through this, we're kind of like on the fringe where like there's a situation of is the quarterback that they have going to be the answer moving forward, or is this like the last shot that they're going to give? Like if Drew Allar is in this draft, I think you see Pittsburgh get more aggressive. I think we could have seen Indianapolis get more aggressive. There's a couple other teams that if there's another guy like that that's an elite caliber prospect, I think that we would have seen some more aggressive teams in this season or in this draft this past year.
My first question to you is why does it feel like Aller slept on? Because it feels like he doesn't get the same shine as some of the top quarterback prospects would get in, like, let's just hypothetically say like the national media. And there wasn't a narrative or discourse around Drew Allar this past season if he were to come out that he would be one of those top quarterbacks taken. And like I said, I completely think otherwise. The few conversations that I had with people who work in the NFL said similar to what me and you are thinking, where if he did come out, he is that type of guy that would just kind of rise up draft boards and people would respect it. Why doesn't Aller get that recognition from the masses of being a top quarterback prospect at the next level?
So I think leading into this season, he is getting more of that respect. He's on pretty much everyone that I've seen, their top 5 to 8. But I think the Notre Dame game probably left a sour taste in people's mouths because he didn't play great. and he hasn't played at a high level against some of the better teams that Penn State has played. His first season against Michigan and Ohio State were bad. Against Ohio State, he wasn't great last year, and then Notre Dame, he wasn't great either. The one game, obviously, that he can hang his hat on was Oregon, and that was the game that prompted this conversation of should Drew Allar go out for the draft this past year because of how well he played. I mean, he looked like a guy that could carry an NFL team at the next level in that Oregon football game. But yeah, I would say it's a few things. Play in big games, and then I think just on top of that, Penn State's a run first offense, and I think he doesn't get to throw the football around enough, and I think that probably plays a little bit into it. But that's kind of me just like grasping at straws. Other than that, I don't have any other reason as to why he wouldn't be considered like one of the three best quarterbacks coming out next season.
Yeah, and he's 6'5", 242. I mean, that's legit size. Like
Yeah,
I said, I think he shows flashes. I mean, he is a true pocket passer, and something that we can kind of address when we talk about what he can improve on in the next topic. But when you look at him, he looks the part. And something that you mentioned of like, oh, like against top tier talent, he might have not have played up to expectation or something like that. There's
right.
also a lot of quarterbacks who don't play that sort of caliber of competition their entire career in college and still go on and play at a high level in the NFL. So I think that there's like a good opportunity that no matter what happens, if even if he's not performing at like that high level, like you said, he could still get correct, get proper coaching to get him over that hump and be a good pro. I don't think that he will not be a good pro, is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I think obviously there's room for improvement, like there are with 99% of the quarterbacks that come out of the draft. But I think he has a very good foundation. I think what he's good at translates very well. And if you look at him, he looks like he's still 18 years old.
Mhm.
Like in the face. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. I have it. I have a picture of him posted on my wall.
Yeah.
But no, he. I'm being serious. He legit looks like he's still 18 years old, and he's going into his senior season at Penn State. So
Yeah.
like he has plenty of room to still grow and mature as a football player, like as an athlete. Like I think the ceiling is higher on him than what people are kind of giving him credit for.
Yeah, I've spent some time around him, just doing some work for Penn State. And he seems like a good guy.
Yeah.
It seems like his teammates like him. Like I don't think that I've ever heard any criticisms of him being like a leader or whatever that may be.
Mhm.
So if you're telling me that this guy kind of checks all of the boxes from an off-field perspective, and he checks all of the boxes from a physical perspective, and maybe there's some tweaks that could be made with the talent. I mean, that's like everything. Like we watched Anthony Richardson, who played like 14 games in college, be
Yeah.
a top 5 pick. So somebody who has a ton of experience, who played all this time at Penn State and a ton of big games and was successful the entire time, it really fits the mold for somebody who's going to be like viewed as one of the top prospects in next year's draft.
And maybe does Anthony Richardson playing, and I think he's probably not a great example just because of how little college football he did play, but like, is Drew Allar playing in these big games and like him not playing well hurting him?
Yeah,
Do you,
probably.
because you see other guys that don't have the same opportunity to play in a Big Ten championship, which that was his best. Drew Allar's probably his best game, but like there's other quarterbacks that aren't playing in a college football semifinal against Notre Dame. They don't play Ohio State every year. They don't play Michigan. Like there's plenty of quarterbacks out there that didn't have to face this big time talent on the defensive side of the football, and it seems like they've been given more credit than he has.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's like the Bo Nix scenario. Like Bo
Yeah.
Nix didn't really work out at Auburn, and then he had one good year at Oregon, and then he gets to the NFL lands in a perfect situation and he's successful. So I just think it's obviously all case by case basis. And I just think that the mold and the idea of Drew Allar will make a lot of teams excited.
How I don't get how you can't be excited if you look at Drew Allar if you're an NFL team.
To move on, what does he need to improve on? I have something that I would like to see. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I have a couple things I can touch on. So coming into last season, he did get into better shape and was a more mobile quarterback. Um, I don't necessarily think that is his game by any means, but at the college level, it really opened up um, the ability for them to just call straight up run plays for him. I don't think that's what is going to happen by any means at the NFL level, but being in better shape, I don't think is ever going to hurt you as a NFL as a pro, um, and having better mobility throughout your college and NFL career probably can't hurt you. So I would like to see that. I would like to see him continue to get into better shape. Not that he was in bad prior, but I think that's something that he can work on. I think he needs to just get more consistent with his just overall mechanics. Um, it seems like there are times where he gets sped up a little bit and he just tries to make throws with all arm. And when you have a lot of talent, that you can get away with that at times. But there's also moments where it feels like he doesn't need to do that, and it can cost him. And then I don't know how you actually practice this, but just big game management, playing better in big games, and that's only something that you're going to be able to get better at the more big games that you play in. But I would like to be able to see him uh, play at a higher level against an Ohio State, against a Notre Dame, more of what we saw against Oregon in that Big Ten championship. And like I said, I don't know how you practice that
Would it
besides
be
actually being in
fair?
it.
Would it be completely fair to say that that is a Penn State issue more than a Drew Aller issue? Because it seems like
I
for the
think it's
last,
both. Yeah, I think it's both.
yeah, because Penn State seems to just like anytime it plays, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a, like I said, maybe it's a James Franklin issue. It's a clearly something, a psyche issue with the coaching staff where whenever it seems like the most is on the line, like they cannot get it done. And it's actually like low key bizarre.
They did not have the talent at the wide receiver position last season. Um, uh, Tyler Warren obviously is a completely different animal when it came to his play on the field last season, but for them to not have a reception by a wide receiver in the semifinals against Notre Dame is still blows my mind that they were even that they should have won the game, let alone have it play out how it did. But that
I'm
it
just
was just
defending
crazy.
I'm defending Aller there a little bit more than like
Fair
I think people would
on
because it seems like there's two things about Penn State. One, it seems like they're really not able to in the James Franklin era, they are really not able to develop a quarterback. Their best
yeah
as successful as this tenure has been, they've had one quarterback play like a game in the NFL, which is like Trace McSorley. And
yeah
I think Trace seems like a good dude. He was great at Penn State. He did his thing in the NFL. Good for him. But that's not like I'm talking about like somebody who's like a walk in day one round top 10 pick, like, and is like the face of a franchise quarterback. Like Penn State has not put that out.
they haven't had a guy like that. Drew Aller has been the first one that James Franklin has had.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think like Penn State has had a hard time developing quarterbacks into being
Yeah,
that next big time star. And two, like with Drew Aller being like that big game management, like I would put that more on like Penn State as a whole because that's going to be an issue that comes up every single year that was coming up when before Aller was there. And
right.
it's going to be a problem probably after Aller was there. So I'm not going to solely put that that big of weight on him in that situation, that like context of things.
Two things there is, if you are a big time quarterback, which I think Drew Allar is, I think you have to. He was bad in some of these games. I think I'm not expecting him to go out. I wouldn't expect him to go out there with a lesser talent and put up 355 yards and throw for 3 touchdowns, but I need a little bit more. And then second, I just don't want those habits, whatever bad habits happen in the Penn State locker room, coaching staff, etc., when they play those big games. I just don't want those to be carried with him when he goes to the NFL.
I completely agree, but like that at the same time, it'd be like, well, Josh Allen played poorly against like low tier FBS schools when he was like at Wyoming. So like, it's just, I think that like you said, like there is a properly reacting to something like that. Like,
Yeah,
I think that like if Drew Allar were to be able to get into a good NFL system, I think that that's something that he could be taught and learned and be able to overcome. I
for
don't
sure.
think that Penn State has the infrastructure as of now, and I think it's been proven in the James Franklin era that that is not their strong suit. So I'm not putting all
Correct.
of that on Drew. Um, what do I think he can improve on? I would like to see him maybe, like you said, it might not be his game, but sometimes he acts like he's like Jared Goff, like can't move in the
Yeah.
pocket. I want to see him be more athletic. I want to see him be more physical. And I think that could like unlock his game. Like, I don't think that he is like Josh Allen, but I also
Mhm.
don't think that he's like Jared Goff. I think that he could be able to be more mobile than what he is within the pocket and use his legs a little bit more. And when he does use his legs in the game, I mean, it unlocks the offense. So
Yeah.
I just want to see him be more use his athleticism more. I just googled this actually real quick because I used the Josh Allen example. In 2017, Josh Allen played Oregon and they lost 49-13, and Josh,
We lost you.
where did I cut out at?
The score of the Oregon Wyoming game.
The Oregon Wyoming game, he lost 49-13, and Allen threw for 64 yards.
That's bad.
So that's bad. So I'm just saying, like every team, every quarterback in college has gone through those like rough patches and rough spots. Like, I don't think that I've never watched a Drew Allar game and have been like floored with how terrible the performance has been. It's more just been like, damn, I wish he would have turned it up a notch. And
Yeah,
that's not really,
that's like what I want too.
yeah. Yeah. And that's really just my only knock at him. It's like, fuck, I would have loved to see him turn it up a notch there. But he's also not going out and just like flat, like laying like legitimate stinkers where it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
like this kid sucks.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And honestly, last year they didn't have the facilities for him to go out there and sling the ball around 45 times. And that wouldn't have been beneficial for them anyways. So I think it just kind of some of it is the way that Penn State runs their offense as
You
to
know me, I'm the
why I
biggest
don't
critic of how Penn State runs their whole offensive system. I think it sucks.
it's tough when you don't have anybody to throw the football to. I think this year it's different, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, you tell me that every season, so we'll see.
I know we will.
Penn State fans tell me that every single this year's different. We got this guy in the third. This year's different.
I
We
know.
got Julian Newman.
Julian Fleming. Julian
Julian
Newman was
Fleming.
the little AAU basketball guy.
We got Julian Fleming. He's gonna unlock this offense. I've heard it time and time again.
I did not say that.
Real quick, let's move on to the comparisons. Do you have a comparison for Drew Allar? Because I said Jared Goff.
I have somewhere between the college version of Christian Hackenberg and the college version of Josh Allen, as far as
That's
like him as a college player.
Hey, the Christian Hackenberg never played a snap in the NFL. People forget.
I'm talking about how I view him like right now. Like I think I was watching Josh Allen highlights, and I think Josh Allen's arm is stronger and he's more mobile than Drew Allar. But I also think Drew's arm and mobility is better than Christian Hackenberg's was at Penn State. So that's where I'm having him right now. NFL comp is probably between Josh Allen and Jared Goff too.
Yeah, that's funny. That's who I think, Jared Goff. So, real quick, I mean, just to name like a few quarterback, is Nico Amalea, whatever his name is he eligible for the draft next season?
Yes, he is. I have the list of the guys as well that are
Go ahead.
the
Read it
prospect
off for
ranks.
me.
So I've got Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, Lenore Sellers, Drew Allar, Nico Iamaleava, you know what I'm saying, Sam Levitt, Carson Beck, John Mateer, and Talon Green are the 10 quarterback prospects that.
Did you say Carson Beck?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
he's on the list. I
think probably like Arch Manning and Nussmeier are probably the guys who he's going to be competing against for like that top spot.
If Arch Manning goes out.
Yeah, if he goes out. I think the Nico situation might have I didn't think he was bad last year to begin with. I think he was way too overhyped. Like people were acting like he was going to be the second coming. I think like after like week 3, he stunk. And then this whole situation happened at Tennessee this offseason. He's like low key, like, unless if he like super balls out, he might be a guy who just ends up staying back in college too.
Yeah, I don't really foresee him leaving UCLA after one season. I think realistically, the group of guys that Drew Allar is going to be competing with for like the number 1 spot is going to be Nussmeier, Klubnik, and Sellers. And it's from Clemson, yeah. He's on everyone's like top 3.
That's great. I just haven't. He hasn't really been somebody who I've loved. So
the hype around him is absolutely insane.
Pretty interesting. I personally think Drew Allar edges those guys out. Pause. But that's just what I think. So it sounds like me and you, way too early predictions. We both are stamping the fact that Drew Allar is going to be number 1.
Yeah, I have absolutely no issues putting my name in pen next to that.
Me too. Hey, me and you are aligned. The only thing that we could probably be aligned about a Penn State topic.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Feels nice.
Okay, so I texted you. Did I say top 5 storylines?
You hit me with 2.
Okay, because I have 1.
Okay. I had 1 too, and I was going to text you and be like, dude, I'm really struggling to figure out a second one.
I just think that probably it would have been. I think it would have probably been doing the most for me to have 2. But what we're doing now is we are creating like, let's just say like clickbaity, like newspaper type style, like headlines that when the 2026 season is, or going into the 2025 season, 2026, going into the 2025 season, this is what people are going to be talking about. I took my liberty. Do you want me to go first? You want to go first?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I took the liberty upon myself to act like I am in week 7 of the NFL season. Okay. So just bear with me. But to lay it out, the Eagles title defense. Sirianni, let me just overview the Sirianni tenure. Year 1, 9-8. Year 2, this is a special tenure for Noah. Year 2, 14-3. Year 3, 11-6. That is the season of where halfway
the backside from hell.
Yeah, where they just fell off of a cliff, and I still don't really understand what happened that year. Year 4, 14-3, Super Bowl champions. Awesome season, awesome postseason run. Amazing to watch. Year 5, week 7, the newspapers come out. Cracks in the nest. is the dynasty already dead? There's a few reasons why I think this is going to happen, and I'm not just doing this to rile you up. There are
You're trying to bring me back to
trends.
even after
Yeah,
saying nice things about Penn State, about Drew
yeah.
Allar.
There are trends that I'm kind of going off of when I'm going to be talking about the Eagles. Why do I think that this is going to happen? One, the Philly media is a house of cards and scared. So if anything starts to go wrong, they are going to be heavily criticized. And
Red button is pressed immediately.
I wish I would have Googled this and searched more. It feels like every single time a coach is given an extension over the
Suck.
last few years,
Yeah.
something goes wrong and they
Yeah.
get fired. I think infamously back to the Cliff Kingsbury extension in Arizona, and he was gone in that next season. So let me give you reasons why I think that the Eagles are going to I don't think the Eagles are going to fall off of a cliff, but I think that they're going to round back into form a little bit. And these are some reasons why. I think they handle the Giants this year. That's not really a problem in my head. If they lose to the Giants one week, I mean, something brutally went wrong. I think
Yeah, like
that
Dorian, Thompson Robinson was starting a game.
yeah. I think that the Commanders are going to be better this season, and they were already good last year. And I think that that's a series that will probably get split for the time being. Just based off of whenever those two teams are going to go against each other, it's going to be more competitive than it has been in the last like 5 years, let's say. Two, the Cowboys are going to be a lot better this season. They're going to actually have healthy bodies on their squad and roll out a competent team. And that's always a series that gets split between the Eagles and the Cowboys historically forever. Another thing, the offensive coordinator changed. Losing Kellen Moore. First off, Kellen Moore, he's got to be sitting in New Orleans right now crying because that move still makes absolutely zero sense to me. When Sirianni said after they won the Super Bowl, Kellen Moore, let's run this back. Kellen Moore should have said yes, sir, because him going to New Orleans does nothing for his career. The Eagles, they probably made an effort to keep him, and it sounds like it just wasn't possible. But what an L for Kellen Moore, and I want you to comment on that real quick.
I mean, Kellen Moore, we talk about this all the time that if you get an opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL, it's very hard to pass up. Kellen Moore has had multiple opportunities to become a head coach in the NFL, but I don't understand why this Saints job was the one that made him finally put his chips in. Like, what about New Orleans made you say, all right, yeah, let me just go attach my name to Derek Carr prior to him retiring? Now Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, whoever else is in that quarterback room. Why is that the spot that finally he was like, yeah, I want to go there? He had the opportunity to be the Chargers coach and pin his name to Justin Herbert and be in a phenomenal spot for potentially the rest of his NFL career. So I don't understand. I feel like it was an opportunity that he could have easily passed up. And if he sticks around in Philadelphia, he probably gets a better job in a better situation the following season if he really wants to leave.
Yeah, nothing would have changed. I mean, nothing. His name doesn't become any less hot staying in Philly.
It's equally as hot this year as it would have been last year.
What they did is they went and hired Kevin Patalo, I think that's how you say his last name, as their OC. He's been with the team since 2021 as a passing game coordinator. History revised is that last time they made those internal hires for OC, it went all time bad.
Horrible.
And you are telling me that you're giving somebody the job as the passing game coordinator, who was the passing game coordinator, the OC. I'm not impressed with the Philadelphia Eagles passing game in any way, shape, or form. The wide screens where like it's literally just like a bubble screen and throw, and then like go routes. Like I don't think that the Eagles run like a sophisticated passing game by any stretch of the imagination, and it could mean nothing. But I'm also grasping at edges here and saying like this could go badly.
Yeah, I think it could too. I mean, you're correct with the way that this has gone. The last time the Eagles hired um, offensive talent internally, it went really, really badly.
Yeah,
So, uh, I, and this just is the theme for Jalen and that offense is it's going to be, and that's just how it is when you're a good team. Is other teams want your coaches. So like at this point, it's like not even an excuse. You just have to figure out a way around it and figure out a way to um, put out a competent offense. But on the flip side, like you still have Saquon Barkley and one of the best offensive lines in football, and you won a Super Bowl with that. And we saw how low numbers were on the passing for their passing offense last season. Like that could ultimately not necessarily matter as much.
yeah, and you as everything happens, there's positive regression and negative regression. You would have to think that the Eagles might have to pass more this upcoming season. Just
Absolutely, yeah.
so um now I'm just looking at like what made this Eagles team so great last season. Multiple things, but something that really stuck out during that postseason run was the defense. And they lost a lot of key guys. Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who is now going to be replaced by a rookie, second round rookie. And then they lose Darius Slay. And as of now, on their depth chart is Kale Ringo, who I don't really love. At a point where it felt like they finally got this secondary and
Isaiah
everything
Rodgers too. They lost.
lost Isaiah Rodgers. They got this secondary fixed. It feels like even with Cooper DeJean, even with Quintanamo Bay Mitchell, I don't know, I'm saying it wrong, but even with those guys who played well above expectations for them last year and crushed it, it feels like right now that one, they lost depth on the defensive line, and they lost key guys in the secondary, and they're going to have guys step up. And I think it's a lot to ask a rookie to step in and be your starting safety. And like I said, I'm not a big Kile Ringo guy. He doesn't really do it for me. And to see him as like a starter on your depth chart, like has to worry you at least a little bit. So I think that losing these key guys on the defense on the trenches and in the secondary, I think that the genetic makeup of this defense could look a little different than what it did last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have that much turnover on a defense or on an offense, there is reason for concern. I think it's important though that they finally will have a consistent defensive coordinator in the building in Vic Fangio for however many more years. But I think at the end of the day, like their core group of guys are still there. Like I love the fact that they've got Quinion. They still have Reed Blankenship, who is fine, but a guy that's familiar with the defense, kind of a leader on the backside. They still have the best defensive tackle in the NFL, in Jalen Carter, and then they still have Jordan Davis, who they did just pick up his fifth year. Don't know if he's going to be back after this season, but we can worry about that later. I know he hasn't been quite what he was expected as far as like overall defensive tackle, but he's been pretty good overall. Not nearly, like I said, what he should have been, but still a solid defensive tackle next to Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I just
And
think
then,
that a
but
lot
again,
of
so many replacements.
I think a lot of their success too is, and if you look back 3 seasons ago when they went on to that Super Bowl run when they lost the Chiefs, they were really great at getting pressure on the quarterback and getting a ton of sacks. And obviously that's dropped off year after year and just kind of makes you now like you look at their edges and they don't really have much talent on the edge for rushing the passer. They obviously have Jalen Carter, who's a great player. And I just think that that's something that should keep noted going into the season is their diminished pass rush on the edges. The last thing that I'm going to dive into, and then you can comment on it, and then you can give your storylines as well, is this team is extremely top heavy on offense as well. Something that I have pointed out to you a few times, I'm probably going to keep bringing it up as we do this preview, is if Saquon Barkley, who has historically missed a ton of football games in his career, and last year he played the entire season, if he goes down, this running back room is one of the worst in the entire NFL. Same thing with obviously they have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. It seems like AJ Brown's been relatively healthy the entire time, but over like at least he misses a few games every single season. So this top heavy offense makes me a little worried. I think that there are guys that can step up. Like if AJ Brown goes down, I have no questions in my mind that Devontae Smith will be able to perform. So I like some spots where if it does happen, there's guys that can step up. And obviously they have ways to complement. Like if a receiver goes down, they can go more run heavy. If Saquon Barkley goes down, they have two of the best wide receiver. They are probably the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. And I think that as long as the integrity of this team, who was relatively healthy the entire way through all last season, if they just like hypothetically experience a year from hell, I think things can get a little dicey. I know that people are probably going to say, why aren't you bringing up the offensive line? The Eagles have absolutely no reason to ever talk negatively about their offensive line. They could get 5 new guys along the front, and I would say that they would be good. So I have nothing to say about who they brought in. I have nothing to say about Stoutland being able to coach them up. That offensive line is going to be good no matter what. And if you don't agree with that, you're wrong, respectfully.
Yeah, I think there is certainly some validity to the top heaviness of this team, but I mean, at this point, that is just how it's going to be made. Like they're going to have their best players taking up a lot of the cap space, and they're going to have to rely on these younger guys and 1 year like prove it deal guys to come in and prove it and or step up if you're a rookie. So like I understand how people might not necessarily love the fact that that's how this team is built because you are relying on multiple rookies to step up every season or 1 year guys to pan out every year. But at the end of the day, I still think you have a really good quarterback in Jalen Hurts. You still have Saquon Barkley. You still have two of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Like, and then on top of that, you have a great offensive line. I think considering injuries is certainly fair because it will ultimately happen. Knock on wood. But
yeah, of course.
I think
deep runs in the last
also,
year. Yeah,
deep runs play a part of it too.
Yeah.
Then the more you play, the more opportunities you put yourself out there for an injury.
And this is like I said, this is
and you have a little bit
5.
shorter of a off season when you are playing into the Super Bowl.
And this is year 5 of them playing deep into off seasons and like being a really good football team. Like this isn't new for them. So it's just, like I said, history like of teams who have gone this far at some point, like just wheels start falling off a little bit. But yeah, we're in year 5 of the Sirianni era. And I think that if you were to put every single Philadelphia Eagles fan on a lie detector test, they would be like, yeah, I don't know if he's a good coach. And I just think that at some point could potentially matter. And I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's 3 years from now, but it's always a lingering thought in my head when I think about the Philadelphia Eagles is the validity and how good of a coach is Nick Sirianni, regardless of his success that he's had in the NFL so far. Is it fair? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, he's more successful than I'll ever be. But like I said, if you put every Philadelphia Eagles fan on a lie detector and ask them to ask it truthfully, I think that they would say that they have some hesitancies about Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I think it would be probably like 70-30. like
I mean,
30%
I
head
mean, shit.
efficiency.
Through 5 weeks of the season last year, his head was on the chopping block.
His hair was on the chopping block.
Literally, he showed up with a shaved head.
But that was a generational crash out that led to a Super Bowl.
It did, but still, that's all.
Hey, listen,
He was
if
on the
all it
chopping block.
takes is him to shave his head to win a Super Bowl, it's fine with me.
Completely agree. All right, perfect.
And if him shaving his head is what rallied that locker room and got all of those guys to lock it the hell in,
that's sad.
That is sad, but
if
also
that's what locked
feels
them
like
in, that's sad.
I feel like that's not a lot to ask.
Oh, that's hilarious. So that is like I said, pretending week 5 of the NFL season. That's my newspaper clipping that I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to struggle going into the season. Give me your storyline going into or during the 2025 season.
So my storyline is pretend we're in week 17.
Okay.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have wrapped up the division.
Yeah. Okay.
And Trevor Lawrence is the clear-cut MVP of the 2025 season.
Completely agree.
I think Liam Cohen is going to coach of the year. And I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have the best season of his career by far.
Dude, I just almost broke my headphones.
They
fired me up.
They brought in a demon in Travis Hunter.
Demon home.
And I'm just looking back at some of the numbers of Baker Mayfield when Liam Cohen was his coach. Under Liam Cohen, Baker Mayfield threw for 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, while also achieving a career high 71.4% completion percentage in a season. So I think if Liam Cohen can do that with Baker Mayfield, the sky's the limit with Trevor Lawrence.
I completely agree with you. I think really, like, I saw something today on social media of like somebody comparing Trevor Lawrence's stats to Daniel Jones's stats and being like, look at how
I ignore that every time.
The blatant disrespect that Trevor Lawrence gets in this league is absolutely crazy. And I am definitely excited to see him prove everybody wrong. Everyone.
I mean, I think the Buccaneers probably had a slightly better wide receiving core than the Jags last season, but like Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter as your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, it feels like Brian Thomas' season went just so far under the radar that it's getting concerning. He had a phenomenal rookie season. And I think with Liam Cohen dialing up that offense, he's just going to continue to get better and better.
I mean, there's really no reason to think that they wouldn't. I think something that just sticks out to me right away is like who's in charge now for the Jacksonville Jaguars is James Gladstone, who's been with the Rams all those years, who the Rams have been really good over time identifying like diamonds in the rough and getting the best guys in each draft and each round and just being able to know like, okay, these guys, they might not have like a ceiling of being like a Hall of Famer or whatever, but like we know that like this guy can play for us like this season. And I think that that's going to be something that sticks out for the Jaguars is like they're not drafting a guy to sit there and potentially develop for a few years. I think that they're going to go and get guys who are going to play for them right away. And I think like the most underrated move of the entire draft was going up and taking the best player in the entire draft, and that was Travis Hunter. So I'm with you on this 1,000,000%. I think we definitely see Trevor Lawrence have the best season of his entire career. And as for the division, you still look at that division. The Titans could be shaky. The The Texans, I think we'll probably have a lot of conversations about the Texans this summer. We were low on them going into last season. I think that they underperformed last season, and I think that they are still on the trajectory pointing down. I don't think they've done anything, even though they've went and won a playoff game, etc. Just during the regular season, like they won 9 games, and in a division where you think the Titans got a little bit better. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a lot better because they're actually going to have a healthy team if they can be a healthy team. And then the Indianapolis Colts, I don't know. They're probably not going to be too good. But
Yeah, that's a mess over there.
but I think that there's a real conversation to be had that that's not just the Texans division, that it could be a toss up.
I think the Texans performed pretty much just about expectations last season. They played a much tougher schedule than the year prior, and their offensive coordinator we figured out he was a fraud.
Big
So
fraud.
I think that they played probably right about what expectations were. I think they'll be better than that this year. It could be a season where like they're a team that plays better than their record and they lose some unfortunate games. I think without looking, I don't know what their schedule looks like off the top of my head, but like I could see them winning 1 or 2 more games. But I think the Jags can be really good. I think that on paper, they could be the best team in that division. And if you told me that the Jacksonville Jaguars won the division and that Trevor Lawrence had the best season of his NFL career, then like I wouldn't be remotely shocked.
Dude, I don't have any discourse to do that. I mean, I bet the Jacksonville Jaguars win the Super Bowl every season. So
every year.
I don't have. I wish that I could add more to what you have to say, but I just fully like agree with you. Like I think that like having a guy like Liam Cohen who he has proven at this point that he's able to unlock a certain quality in a quarterback to make him do his thing, and I think that if he can continue to, if like I said, if we just go back in history and look at this, we know that he took somebody like Baker Mayfield, who was a reject, honestly, at one point, and turned him into somebody who is now respected as a starter in the NFL. I wouldn't say that Trevor Lawrence has gotten to that point in any way, shape, or form. And I think that he's going to be able to continue to develop these quarterbacks. And like you said, Brian Thomas Jr. is not a slouch. Like he's going to be really good. And I love the addition of Travis Hunter, obviously, and just having 2 guys who are just undoubtable playmakers. I mean, who does that hurt?
Nobody. I think the biggest thing that the Jaguars are going to have to worry about is just staying healthy. That was their issue last season. And I have a very difficult time believing that their injury luck will be as bad this year as it was last year.
Hey, positive regression.
That's right. That's what we're all about. Like I'm looking at this depth chart because I think the offensive line too probably needs to play better, but like you got Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown, and then Tank Bigsby, Parker Washington, Josh Cephas as like your primary.
Parker Washington's not bad.
Parker Washington played decent when he had the opportunity to play last season. So I'm not mad at him as being your 4th string wide receiver.
Yeah.
But I do like the running back room that they have. I think the offensive line has to play better, and then they just have to stay healthy as a unit. But I love the Jags again this year. I can't quit them.
I can't quit them. I really think an underrated part about the Jags is like their secondary might be a little bit shaky, but I mean they have 2 elite edge rushers. Like I think Trayvon Walker could be somebody who could continue to take like a next step. He had double-digit sacks last year and continues to get better. Josh Hines-Allen recorded 18.5 sacks one season. I mean that alone. I mean you have 2 guys that are getting double-digit sacks every single season. I mean that's nothing to snub your nose at.
That's what got the Eagles to a Super Bowl in 20 23.
Somebody had to say it.
Their secondary wasn't great, but their pass rush was out of this world. So as long as you can stay healthy and you can have those guys on your defensive line wreak havoc, it's not out of the question.
No, not at all. Do you have anything else, or do you want to move on?
I had another one, but I think I'm going to save it for another time. I think we were good with those two for today.
This moving into a new topic now. The Cleveland Browns have made a ton of head waves for multiple reasons, and I think probably there's two things that we can talk about. I don't want to get too much into the team because that will be like more of like our preseason preview, but I just think we should talk about this quarterback room. And first, Shador Sanders will lead this topic, and hopefully that like the AI grabs it and pushes it, because I don't really have much to say about this, and he'll be in the thumbnail as well because he'll just get the most clicks if you
For
just
sure.
talk about Shador Sanders. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't think that there's much to talk about. And just the official depth chart that got released by the Browns, I think that probably fits the mold. Is Kenny Pickett is the one, Dylan Gabriel is the two, Joe Flacco is the three, and Shador Sanders is the fourth string quarterback. One, I want to hear what you have to think about this QB room, and if you can put yourself in the Cleveland Browns shoes, how would you feel about Kenny Pickett being your QB1 going into the season?
Well, are we sure that Shador is the fourth string quarterback? Because this article that I'm reading out of a Mexican sports article says that Shador Sanders recently wrapped up Brown's practice session with his arm on fire.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah. During a precision passing drill, he connected on nearly every throw, hitting his receivers in stride and showing off both technique and arm strength. So, are we sure he's four?
I have absolutely no idea. I think what Shador Sanders is most focused on right now, and just based off of his vibes and seeing him like talk to people, is making the roster, being a vibes guy, and trying his best to just make an NFL roster and not ruffle any feathers.
Right. Fair. Okay. So on a more serious note, the Browns announcing that Kenny Pickett is their starting quarterback as of now, with Dylan Gabriel taking second team reps. I mean, that's a dark time. And there's been some dark times in Cleveland Browns quarterback history. But this technically fits right on par with the rest of it. Kenny Pickett's a career backup. Nice guy, Super Bowl champ, career backup. Dylan Gabriel is an undersized, left-handed, immobile QB with not a great arm.
He stinks.
And then your third string is a 45-year-old Joe Flacco who will probably be able to give you 5 good games in a season if he ends up playing more than if he ends up playing. But this is the type of thing that I would expect from the Browns, not only because it's the Browns, but because they sold their soul for Deshaun Watson. It didn't pan out, and now they're stuck with a makeshift quarterback room, just trying to figure out which one of these backup quarterbacks can be the starter for the season.
What I'm not really sure of is this like I know that like NFL teams don't like really tank, like, and there's not like many like talks of tanking. Like, are the Browns just the first like openly tanking team in the NFL? Like, I don't remember. And if you have one, I mean, tell me, but this usually isn't the case ever.
The Eagles did it too.
Remember when they benched Carson Wentz
and Nate Sudfeld came in and played the entire second half of the game, and it led them to get like the second or third overall pick, one of them. So yeah, the Eagles did it. but that was already deep enough into the season. Like that wasn't the intention going into the year. This
Yeah.
is a different story. This feels more so like, hey, we know we're gonna suck, and they're just kind of like trying to make it seem like they're going to try. When you look at those guys who are in that quarterback room, and it's like, okay, well, you're not really trying. But the options weren't great. The options were not great to go into this off season.
Real quick, Dov Kleiman, he tweeted, star Shador
Okay.
Sanders was one of the last players to leave Brown's rookie minicamp today. Shador is always willing to put in the extra hours. This speaks volumes about his character, a mindset that can't be taught.
Can't be taught. No other NFL quarterback is the last one to leave camp.
Okay, I'm sorry for doing that, but I saw that and it cracked me up. But yeah, you're right. The options aren't great, but also at the same time, it's like, at what point, as the Brown, we just listed the depth chart. We didn't include Deshaun Watson. Did you realize that?
Well, yeah, because he's not going to play.
He's not going to play, but I mean, they have 5 quarterbacks under contract next season. Like, that's just insane to even think about.
They better play all. They better play all of them.
I think you have to. I think it's at a point like it's just like, what do you have to lose? Really, a big question that I have for you is like, if you're Kevin Stefanski, when do you ask to just get fired?
I don't know, dude.
Like,
He's
seriously.
like, you know that meme that's like the guy that's like, "Why do you keep giving me your toughest battles?" And it's like him asking God. That's Kevin Stefanski right now, except God is like saying, "Dude, you're coaching the Browns."
Yeah. But like,
So
when do you go to ownership and you're just like, hey, like, I think you guys are. I think that we suck and we're never going to be good, and I don't want to be stuck here the rest of my life. Like, it's just like at this point, like they're not even giving them like a fair shot, a fair shake at things. Like, it's just rough.
they got rid of the best quarterback that the Browns have had in the last 25 years in Baker Mayfield, and I mean in Deshaun Kaiser, and
Yeah.
and haven't. I mean, they tried. They tried with Deshaun Watson, but that was a huge risk in the first place. Um, I think if you're Kevin Stefanski and the Browns end up having, which they likely will, a top 3 pick this season,
No doubt.
I think after this next quarterback plays out, with whoever they take in that top 3 pick, hypothetically, I think if it doesn't pan out after that, then it's probably just time to move on.
For like the franchise should just end.
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
like they should move on from trying to be like a football franchise.
Yeah, they get relegated and get sent to Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very, very interesting situation. I mean, especially with a team that made the playoffs 2 years ago, where it felt like they were finally like trending in the right direction, and now like it just seems like they're not in any way, shape, or form. I mean, injuries, bad signings, unable to have a good quarterback. It just seems over for the Browns. Really, really, somebody said this, I forget who it was, but at a point, like you have 4 quarterbacks on the roster, 5 if you counting Deshaun Watson during summer and everything like that. It sounds like they're just like fine with Joe Flacco, kind of like not doing anything. Like on paper right now, it's like, hey, you're good. We know you're good. We know what we're gonna get from you. You don't have to put too much work in. Blah blah blah. But these rest of the guys, so like Shador, Gillen Gabriel, and Kenny Pickett, like they're going to be splitting reps, and that sounds like it's going to be splitting reps between Kenny Pickett and Gillen Gabriel, not Shador Sanders. So it's going to be interesting to watch everything play out. Again, I don't think this team stinks. Like if you really look at everything that this team has, I mean, They have Myles Garrett. They took Mason Graham and with a top 5 pick. They traded back. They have assets, but their receiving room stinks. Their offensive line gets worse every single year. Their running back room's terrible. Quarterback room sucks. I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah is not playing this season due to a neck injury. It's dark times in Cleveland. I mean, I don't know what they can possibly do.
They have to get off of the Deshaun Watson money and just hope that whoever they get in one of the top 3 picks next season is like hopefully the truth.
The truth. Yeah, the truth.
Like we talked about Drew Allar earlier. I'll actually be so upset if he goes to the Browns, but at the same time, if he's the guy to bring Cleveland from the ashes, like he'll go down, he'll get a statue if they win 2 playoff games.
I mean, if they can win 10 games, he might get a statue.
Yeah, like luckily for the Browns, there seems to be a good amount of quarterbacks in this upcoming draft.
And they have the capital.
And they have the draft picks for sure. Obviously, we have to see how the college football season pans out, but you got to feel like you're in a decent spot for next year, which is unfortunate. Like, I never wish that on any fan base, just having to go into every season, just pure torture.
I'm not trying to tip my hat too far ahead to our season preview, but I think that this team might go winless this season. And I think I'm going to bet it. I just don't see them winning a football game. There's no way. There's no way this team wins a football game. Unless if Myles Garrett plays running back for them and returns kicks and has 12 sacks in a game, I don't think that they can win a football game this year. So
he has like a pick 6 and like 2 fumble recoveries inside of like the other team's like 20-yard line.
Yeah. That's the only way.
That gets them 13 points. And they win 13-7.
Dark times in Cleveland.
I just don't get, like we said, there wasn't really that many options, but it's just dark. It's really dark over there. It's bad.
All right, we have one thing left on the docket today, and then we can round it out and call it an evening. And I just want to talk about how this modern QB market, where we are just in the day of age of every quarterback, no matter who it is, they are trying to find a way to come in at the top of the market. And this really stems from the Brock Purdy situation that happened, because I listened to a whole thing on the Ringer where they were like, oh, like he's the 13th highest contract in the NFL. And when, as it goes on, like by year 4, he'll be like the 25th most expensive quarterback in the NFL. That's not true at all. He's 5th on this list. The only people who are making more money than him are Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. So he's making just as much money as the rest of these guys, only a few million less here and there. My first question is, the blueprint in the NFL over the last 20 years has really been laid out. It's have a quarterback on a rookie deal, or be able to have a quarterback who is talented enough to get you over the hump, to be relevant every single season. Let's say, obviously there's outliers. The blueprint that Tom Brady laid out during his time in New England is never followed nowadays at all. Tom Brady didn't restructure to defer cap hits. He actually left money on the table, and he never ranked in the top 10 of quarterback salary during his entire playing time in the NFL. Now, this goes back to the Brock Purdy situation, where he just signed for, let me get this right, 5 years, $265 million, $53 million a year. He feels like somebody who could have fit the mold of, I was Mr. Relevant. I was last draft pick. I'm good. I'm a good quarterback, but I have had stacked rosters around me on the offense and the defense, and I think that if you are Brock Purdy, do you trust Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch enough with your future in the NFL to look at them and be like, I trust you guys? And you look at what the 49ers have done. Have they picked well every single year at the top of the draft? No, but some of their hits later on in rounds on offense and defense, with like George Kittle was a 5th round, Juwan Jennings, who was a 7th round pick, Deebo Samuel was a 2nd round pick, Brandon Ayuk was a 2nd round pick, kind of goes on and on. Do you trust them? Be like, I'm going to leave money on the table and I want to keep playing with these stacked rosters. It's a ton of fun to play with. And we're going to run it like that on offense and defense. If there was anybody to do it, I felt like it would be Brock Purdy. And now that Brock Purdy didn't do it, I feel like that we're in a point now where we're going to look at a lot of these big time contracts. The first one that comes to mind is Tua Tagovailoa. He's not worth that money in any way, shape, or form. There's going to be a lot of Deshaun Watson. There's going to be a lot of teams holding the bag on these deals. And at what point do teams stick up for themselves, or like a player itself just be like, man, I know that I might not be the best ever, but like, I know that like, if we can have a sack team, we can actually win. And just feels like it's more about everybody's pockets nowadays. And I mean, if you're not a complete idiot, you're completely fine. If you're an NFL quarterback and you can't figure out a way to make money outside of football after you're done playing, et cetera, like then you're just like a complete idiot.
Yeah, or you don't want to do any of that. You just want to go off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and that's fine. And guess what? Even with
you
the
still have enough money to do that.
you still have enough money to do that. So, I know I just said a lot there. I guess the first thing that I want to kind of touch on is like, why do you think that no quarterback has taken like the Tom Brady blueprint and been like, you know what, like I want to win more than anything, and if I can just leave like an extra 20 million off the table, I'm not even saying that much. Like at this point, like 20 million in these deals, like $265 million. If you just leave out 20 million, that's 2 players. It's 2 good players that you can get on offense or defense. Like, why has nobody taken over? And do you think that my representation of like the Brock Purdy situation, where, sorry for talking so much, if you look at somebody like Trevor Lawrence has, I think, earned the right to be like, I don't trust this organization in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to get my bag, because we have had bad coach after bad coach after bad coach. I mean, Urban Meyer is one of the worst hires of all time.
Horrible.
I'm going to go and get my bag. Do you think that me using the Brock Purdy as an example, who he was a nobody and now is a $265 million man making $53 million a year, you think at some point that he could look at John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and be like, I trust you guys with my career. I trust you guys with my process. And let's do this thing for a really long time. We've been successful already. Let's keep doing it for the next decade. And go.
I to answer your question, yes, I would have success. I would have trust in both of those guys. They've played in what, a Super Bowl, 2 NFC championships.
Yeah.
And have consistently shown that they are willing to spend money to build a talented team around Brock Purdy while he's been there. And this just makes it more difficult now. I still think they'll figure out a way to still put out a good team moving forward. But this kind of goes back to like the Eagles thing that you mentioned earlier about being top heavy, where like maybe if some of those contracts weren't as significant as they were, they could bring in some other guys and have some more depth elsewhere. I guess it just depends on how you want to build your team at the end of the day, if you want to be top heavy or if you do want to have that depth, but that's for another day. I would have expected Brock Purdy to be the guy that took a little bit less money in order to make sure that it was set in stone that they were going to have talent all over the field for him on both sides. But counter side of this is like, your NFL career can end in one game. And like, if you have an opportunity to cash in now, it's easy for us to say as two guys that are not being handed a contract that says 5 years, 263 million, or a contract that says 5 years, 243 million. It's easier for us to say like, oh, well, yeah, just take.
Well, I'm letting you
What's
know. I'm letting you know right now. I would do that. I don't care. Like if you were to like,
I know. It's easier for us to sit here without that contract in front of us. But at the end of the
I'm
day,
letting you
like
know. I'm letting
it
you know right now. Like if somebody were to sit a contract in front of me for that much and been like, yeah, we can give you this contract, but like if we give you this contract, like we're gonna have to get rid of Noah, and because we're not gonna be able to
yeah,
afford Noah, and be like,
yeah.
but
I'm
I can
$20
take it.
million guy.
You can take a $30 million pay cut and bring Noah. I could be like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like really, that's where my head goes. It's just like,
Yeah, because you want to
okay,
win.
yeah, I want to win. Like, it's really not rocket science for me. Like, at the end of the
It's not.
day, like when you're making that much money, like it is easy for me to sit here and say that. Yes, I can say that.
Yes. So uh I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact of like you don't know when your last game's going to be and you want to cash in as much as you can while you're there. But I don't know. I feel like that's just like kind of a cop out per se because why would you not want to just take like you're getting generational money at $243 million. You're getting generational money at $263 million. Like, why not
Getting
make
generational money at
your
like $10 million.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the point.
Yeah, why not take a little bit less to be able to compete? Like it's different if you play on a shitty team, right? Like you're Deshaun Watson, you're going into the Browns. Of course, I'm going to take $245 million guaranteed because I'm going to have to probably be the one that rips them out of hell. And it's
And you
not
don't
like
know
Brock
them.
Purdy's,
He
yeah.
didn't
And it's
know
not like,
them.
yeah, I'm going from, this wasn't the team that drafted me. So it's a whole new scenario, whole new organization. Like he knows that front office, he knows the coaching staff. Like, I would trust them. I feel like they've shown that they are capable of drafting in the grand scheme of things well and bringing in guys like to improve the team year in and year out. And if there was ever a worse time for them to have to sign Brock Purdy, it's probably this year where they lose 15 guys.
Yeah, literally.
So, like, the timing couldn't be worse for the Niners, but I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I would want to go out there and make sure that I know that my role is important as the quarterback, but I can't do all of this. I can't get to an NFC championship. I can't get to a Super Bowl like if I don't have these guys around me on both
And
sides
it's
of
a
the football. And
culture.
that's a humbling like thing to have to deal with too.
It's a culture setting thing to do as well because like you look at what the best example is the Patriots because this is what Tom did. Like if Julian Edelman started having a temper tantrum about like oh I want to get 5 more million like blah 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 the Brandon Ayuk situation last year I need to get paid blah 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 he ended up tearing his ACL and whatever but like forget all of that if he wasn't acting like a diva the entire time, he wouldn't act like a diva if Brock Purdy set the standard of taking less money and be like, listen, like Brock is our guy. Like, and he took less money than you. Like, you need to figure this out. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it starts from like the top down. And I genuinely like in my heart of hearts, like if you would have told me that Brock Purdy took a little bit less of a pay cut and allowed like more cap room and flexibility for the team, I would have been like Brock Purdy is next up. Like he's going to be good in this league forever.
Yeah.
And
Because they would have the cap space and capability to build quality teams around him.
exactly. So I just think it's interesting and I don't really have much more to add on that. I just in this modern era where everybody just seems to continue to make more and more money. Like, I mean, you're telling me right now that Brock Purdy makes more money than Lamar Jackson? Like, I mean, come on. Like, it just makes
Yeah.
no sense. I mean,
No,
Lamar is in the MVP conversation every single year. He wills his team. Like, I mean, what he does with these offenses are crazy. I texted you the other day, like Lamar had 45 touchdowns and 2 interceptions last year, or 4
Crazy.
interceptions.
Something,
And I
yeah,
was
less
like,
than 10.
and 9 and not less than.
Yeah, less than 5.
And yeah, I mean, we talked about Lamar the other day, and like I said, he had. Let me pull it up real quick because it's gonna bug me if I can't. He had 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and almost rushed for 1,000 yards on the ground. I mean,
How much of it do you think is like the agent in the room being like
it's probably all of it.
greedy about this too? Because how many times as an agent are you going to have the opportunity to cash in on that
Probably,
much of
probably never.
a paycheck,
Probably,
right? Like,
probably not too often. What I'm
yeah,
just confused about though, and if somebody is a cap wizard that stumbles across this video and can explain it to me, what's the deal here? What's stopping them, Brock Purdy coming in and be like, I want $265 million. Well, what if I just look at him and I'm just like, listen, we love you. You're a great player. We want you to be the face of our franchise forever. But Lamar Jackson makes $260 million a year. And we're not saying that we don't like you more than Lamar Jackson, but Lamar is a probably in our time like one of the most decorated like individual athletes like that we've had like in the NFL. And although you've had more success than him in the postseason, like I think that's fair to say. Like there's also like Lamar is just flat better than you. And I know that you can't outwardly say that like how I said it, but that's a conversation that I think could like be had. I mean, I feel like the negotiation is so far into the favor of the player
yeah,
as of now
100%. Yeah,
that it just
100%.
like it
Every
makes no
quarterback gets the
sense.
highest deal every time they get a deal.
But it just makes no sense.
Because
Why
I
is
think
there
teams
no
are because
hard
there's no
market?
pushback from any teams because they think, okay, if we don't pay Brock Purdy this money, somebody else will, and then we have to figure out a new quarterback. And the odds of finding a Mr. Irrelevant again, if you're the 49ers, and just so happen that he turns into a franchise quarterback, are probably equally as high as getting struck by lightning.
Definitely.
So, like, teams don't want to have to go through that process. That's why the Browns paid That's why the Browns took a shot on Deshaun Watson and paid him $240 million guaranteed money. Like,
But there's a clear difference too of like Josh Allen is the second paid highest paid quarterback. He makes $55 million per year,
he
which
should
is
make
more
$100 million a year.
which is more than Brock Purdy. I don't agree with that, but which is more than Brock Purdy. But like if Brock Purdy was like going to the table, like if we want to be if we want to play technicalities, like in the postseason, as of right now, like Josh Allen has played more games than him, but like from a success standpoint, like Brock Purdy has been more successful in the postseason than Josh Allen has been. So like it's like why can't Brock Purdy get the Josh Allen deal? It's because he's not as good as Josh Allen. Like
Yeah.
it's just so like why can't that conversation be had like with multiple quarterbacks across the market? I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I
I
just
just
think
think
teams are scared. They don't want to lose their quarterbacks and they don't want to piss somebody off because they know that somebody will pay them. I
hey,
think there just needs to be more pushback from front offices across the NFL to say, hey, basically what you just did. We fucking love you, but you're not better than Lamar Jackson. And maybe that's the conversation that needs to be had. People need to be honest about this type of thing
yeah,
because Brock Purdy shouldn't look in the mirror and say, I'm as good as Lamar. Like I understand there is a certain like persona that you have to have as a quarterback. You
there's
have to be
no way he
confident.
thinks that.
You
No
have
way.
to be confident. Right. I get exactly. But there's no way he's saying I'm better than Josh Allen. I'm better than Lamar Jackson. I'm better than these guys. Like I deserve that type of money.
No chance.
There's no way. So like, why does it like why? And the job of the agent is to get the most money possible. So I think a lot of it is probably going on the agent. The agent doesn't care about the makeup of the team. The agent wants
What's best
10%.
for his client?
Yes,
himself.
yes. I think that's what it is. But teams need to be, if the agents are in there negotiating without these guys, then maybe teams need to be more difficult towards the agents.
Hey, listen, if a sports agent,
if you're an agent, get in here
and wants to come on here, you have an open invite. So if you find this video, let me know. Just DM me or comment on the video.
Yeah, I would love to figure that out because it is getting crazy because every quarterback that is coming up on the end of their rookie deal is just going to get paid. Whoever's next in line is just going to get paid. Like the next guy's going to get $285 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like who's the next quarterback probably?
I don't know.
And I get it. Like you're looking into the future because like down the road, that deal won't be as expensive because there'll be other quarterbacks that get paid more than that. But like you're also banking on that quarterback still being as good.
Like I think the next quarterbacks up would be like CJ Stroud and like that group. But I'm with you. Hey, this is probably going to be an ongoing conversation that me and you have, but it's to scratch the surface a little bit because I just think that the quarterback market's so weird. The market in general is a little weird where, like I said, it just feels like the teams and the front offices almost have like little to zero leverage and it's just all player leverage. And it's like, well, does that make sense? My answer as of right now is no. Second, as a quarterback, do you need $275 million or is $5 million okay if you aren't a decorated, accomplished quarterback? Like I just looked at like the Trevor Lawrence contract. I know I defended him at first, but he makes $275 million. Like, could he take $255 million and let
improve
the team
that offensive line?
Yeah, I think that I think my answer to that is yes as well. So it's just an interesting dynamic across the board on where everybody's priorities are when we have, obviously, as of recent memory, I mean, in the last 5 years, Tom Brady has won a Super Bowl still. So take that for what you want. But in the modern era, like we have this kind of blueprint of guys who are the most important players being able to take a little bit of humility and having long-term success in the NFL. So it's just what I think.
I mean, look at the Bengals. They're paying three guys like $500 million, and they won't be able to put out a competent defense this season.
I mean, Joe Burrow is making $55 million per year. Patrick Mahomes is making $45 million a year. Like it's just
there's nobody that's benefited more from one Super Bowl run than Joe Burrow.
Hey, different conversation for a different
combo. Combo.
That's all I have today. Are you good? Do you have anything else you want to do?
That was a banger.
It was a banger. I'm going to edit this and get this up. Hopefully some of the videos do well this week. And if not, I'm going to crash out.
People are asking, though. They're questioning you as a music insider after the last video when you said that Jack Boys 2 was going to come out. People are asking. People have asked me. They're like, hey. People are like, hey, is Steve, is he okay?
This Friday.
Okay.
This Friday confirmed. I don't know when it's going to come out, but this Friday confirmed.
I just had to give you a hard time about that.
It's coming out this Friday.
All right.
It's coming out every week.
And then what you could just do is keep cutting this video and just posting it every other Wednesday until it's announced.
Jack Boys 2 this Friday night, Thursday at midnight. Tune in.
All right. Peace. Keep an eye out.
White clouds blowing out when we